Hello, welcome back to the channel. Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit that little square there and get yourself subscribed. And if you want to be notified of when I do any new videos, hit notifications bell and you'll be notified accordingly by YouTube. So, I've called this video Hachette Lancaster Revisited. And what we're going to do, we're going to go back. Now, this is going to be like the third time. I started buying this, realised it was really nice, approached Hachette and said, would you like to sponsor a build of this on my channel? And they kindly agreed. So from now on, well, from back when I started doing part one, go back and have a look on the channel, you'll see that I've been doing this build on their behalf. And they've agreed that I can do any changes or anything I want to make. So that's absolutely brilliant. So from the outset, you know, if you've been watching my videos on this, changes to the build sequence is vital. One of the first things they tell you to do is fit antenna, which are just going to get snapped off, so we don't do that. There's also going to be some colour changes. There's going to be lots and lots going on in this sort of series of videos running alongside the standard build. So my intention is to sort of, at the moment we're up to pack 14. So what I'm going to do is do all the corrections up to pack 14, and then from now on we'll do, well, next in the post we'll get 15, 16, 17, I think it's 4 at a time, or is it 5 at a time? I can't remember now. I think the Mustang's 5 at a time. So we'll get 15, 16, 17 and 18 next, and what I'll do is I'll build them out of the box so you'll see how it goes together, and then after that I'll do another video, take it all off and do some modifications, whatever we're going to do. So this video is going to be all about what am I going to do? What is this all about? Why am I doing it? So we've got our folder here with all our magazines in. This one was the original magazine that came with part one. And this was basically telling you what it's going to be, how it's going to look and everything, blah, 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 blah. And all that good stuff. And then we got to part one. So pack one was really, really good. Lots and lots of stuff in here. So we've got the propellers, we've got the motor, we've got a battery box, we've got some internal framing, nose, screwdriver. We've got loads of stuff in here. So basically what I'm going to do is just go through what I'm going to do. So here, this interior, the nose is, let's get this moved to the middle. Here we go, that's better, isn't it? So in this interior, they've got the internal nose area all black. Now, a lot of people think Lancasters had black internal noses. They didn't. They were all green. They were interior green up until very late 43. Okay, so this period of Lancaster, May 43, would have had green nose internals. All right, so all of this framework, all of the insides of the nose here would be green. So we're going to make that change. The propeller, as you know, I've already talked about. We can change the pitch. When the motor spins the propeller up, it goes in the wrong direction. If you're into accuracy, it will bother you. But I've now discovered how you can make the propeller go the other way if you swap the wires around, and you can actually change the pitch of the blades so they're correctly pitched as well to go the right way. So there we are. So there we are. We're fitting the propeller up and everything. Nothing to change there. All looking good. So all that's there is going to be done, and we'll do the interior green, and we've changed the pitch of the propellers already. So that's that. Then we come along to pack 2. Now pack 2 is going to be a lot to change in here. So once again, we've got all this interior of the turret is all painted black. Now a lot of people again think turrets on Lancasters are black. But again, up until I think it's late 43, certainly when this Lancaster was made, the internal turret would have been green and all of this framework would have been aluminium. Okay, so I also don't believe they had these bags for catching the shells. I have never seen any evidence of bags fitted to the nose turrets of a Lancaster. So that's something I won't fit. So all of this here is going to be green. The ammo boxes can be green or silver, whatever you want to do. But the base here will be green. The seat frame and everything will be green. These sides and all this framework around the top will be aluminium. So we'll deal with that. And the turrets look really nice when they're painted like that. This area inside here would be green, and then this frame here would be aluminium. As you know, I've already done the work around the glazing to make the turret look a lot better. So we'll be doing that. This area in here would be green, I believe, certainly on the inside. This would have been black on the outside, green on the inside. This would have been green on the outside and I believe black on the inside, or could be green, I can't remember now. I'll have to check my my references. And then coming along here, we have the floor. Okay, so this internal paneling here, this is all going to be painted green. This will all be painted green. We're not going to fit these antennae because that's just silly. And then we got the glazing going in. As you know, I've already done you can see the difference here. This is a cockpit glazing without the edges done in black, and this is the cockpit glazing with the edges done in black, and you can see the difference. This one has this sort of shiny crystal edge to all the glazing, and this one has the black. So I much prefer the look of this one, so that's the one I'll be using. So there we go. A lot of you have messaged me and said you've been struggling to get these to go together. You start from one side and really work at it, and just keep going over, and remember, shave some plastic off the back angle of those across there, and it makes it go together a lot easier. Okay, so we'll change the colour of this interior here, the green. You can see they've got all the green in here, but the actual cockpit framing would have been black. So we may have to take one of these apart and paint the inside black. We'll have a look at that. This framing here is actually inaccurate, but to redo this would be a lot of work. This bar here was actually internal, so you wouldn't have that bar on the outside there. So, but we're not going to worry about that because that would be a massive job to do that. This area in here will be painted green. So there we go. And then coming along here, once again, we have some changes to make in colour. So this box would have been green, but the floor would have been black. All this would be painted green, a different colour than the plastic is. All this area down here would be green, sorry. This chute hatch would be green. All of the floor would be repainted because it's a much darker green. I'll show you the colour I use. It's my own mix. Basically, I get Tamiya XF71 and Tamiya XF21 and mix them roughly 50-50, and I get this interior green colour. As you can see, it's a lot lighter than the actual colour that the model is, and it's actually a little bit lighter than it probably should be, but I do that because it's all enclosed and it darkens up when you see it in there, and also it dries a little darker than there. I've actually painted some on here. You can see I've painted some on here. You can see the difference in colour between that and that. So you may not choose to do it, but I certainly will. I also want to fit this floor panel in here and deal with the gap, because when this goes together, you can see there's a nasty gap there and a step. I want to deal with that and get rid of it. The other thing I want to do, if you remember from, was it pack 12, where they tell you to fit the downward looking light here, it's an absolute nightmare when everything's together. So I want to do it at this stage, and how it's going to be sticking out. We'll have to put something to protect it. But absolute nightmare to do when it's all together, so much easier to do it at this stage when the floor is like this, and then get that all glued in. But yeah, very difficult. So there we go. So yeah, as I say, all this here will be green. I think it's already green actually on the model, and then inside here will be green and everything. So there we are. So that's that. Then we get to part 5. Again, we've got some changes to make. All of these parts that are painted green, I'm going to repaint them green. The seat should be black. They've got their seat green, which is a mistake I've made, and Chris has told me that I'm wrong. So basically, the seat should be black. Also, the other thing is, we've got this piece here, 05P, which is called the seat strap bar. And that is the bar that the harness should come off of there. And they've got the harness coming off the seat, so we're going to remove that harness, repaint the seat, and then either rework this harness or fit another harness, and go from there. So I've got some spare harnesses around in 30-second scale, so we'll have a look at that. Then we're doing the cockpit controls. So again, these are going to have to be repainted in the correct green colour. The inside of this doesn't really matter, so we won't bother repainting that. But basically, we're going to be adding some decals and stuff as well for the instruments. Wherever they're missing. So all very nice indeed. This here has to be repainted because they've got that in the interior green colour. It should actually be, where it goes is into here, it should be the same colour as that. It should be that green there. So there we go. And there we are. So that's that. When it comes to here, again, we'll be repainting all this green to change the colour and everything. Other than that, it's all good. We're going to be adding some decals to the gauges, like here and everything. I'm going to use some air scale decals. I'll show you those. Decals, if you're in America, we say decals. You say decals. Neither of us are wrong. And then in part 8, again, inside of this panel here will be green. We're going to repaint that, add some decals, and go from there. Okay. So as you can see, we've got lots and lots of work to do. But and then we've got the Navigator's accessories. Now this is where we're going to be making some pretty major changes. They're calling this the G radio. This is actually H2S. H2S was the radar that was fitted underneath the aircraft. And when you look at some Lancasters, they have the big belly underneath at the back. That was where the H2S was fitted, and this was the equipment. And what they did then was move the G to the left-hand side of the Navigator. What they've done in here, they've called the radio, the equipment on the left of the Navigator, they've called it H2S. It should actually be G. So what we're going to do is not fit any of this. We're going to cut down this post, and we're going to fit the G here, and not fit any of this at all. Not fit any of the H2S. This box here for the parachute should be green, and it's black, so we're going to change the colour of that. I think this here should be black, or even copper coloured. So I think we'll brass coloured. I think we'll do that. And then this box here for the azimuth. What do they call that box? It's for keeping the azimuth in. Bubble Sextant Mark 9. Okay. So obviously I've got that wrong, but that should be like a crimson red colour, because I think it was made of Bakelite. So that's what we're going to do. So all of this is going to change. It's going to be majorly different. Okay, so that's that one, and then we're on to part 10. So again, we're going to change the colour of the the Navigator and radio operator's wireless operator's table. Easy for you to say. This lump here, this raised portion, is where this fish pond radio goes. That's part of H2S, so we're not going to use it. So this table is going to have modifications done to it and be repainted. Again, we're going to be using decals in the gauges and stuff. We're not going to fit part 10C. We're going to fit all these boxes to the floor. That's all good, but obviously that floor will already be repainted. And then we're going to fit all these other boxes and everything, so it will all start to look like this. As you can see from their photographs, they have this interior green colour looking a lot more accurate than the actual paint, but it's because it's a photograph. This here is all wrong as well. I don't think any of this actually really existed, and this mount here shouldn't be here. We'll probably leave it there and just paint it green, but that mount there is where the the bomb aimer's computer goes, which wasn't fitted on a downbuster Lancaster. So there should be another seat in here. We may see if we can make something up. Put it in there, but there should be something for the bomb aimer to kneel on. And then again, we're coming to here. We've got lots of changes to make with all this equipment, repainting the green. There's the G, that's going to go over onto the right hand side, and then we're going to have to remove some stuff from this panel because here you can see they're telling us to fit the, here we've got this is the G, they call it H2S, it's not, it's G. And they're going to fit that onto this side of the panel here, which is incorrect. That's not going to be going in. So there we go. And then we'll put all this together again with it all painted green. And then we come to here, we've got the main cover for the main spar. That's all going to be repainted. Look, this hydraulic tank going on. I'm going to leave that till last. That's that part that holds the lamp, the downward looking lamp, and we're going to be putting that on way further back, so it's going to be much easier to get to. As you can see, what they do is they tell you to put all this together and then fit this framing here and then put that light in. When all this is in the way, it's really annoying to get, it's really difficult to get it in, so it's going to be much easier to put it in earlier on. So I may see if I can get it in there firmly held down and have the light so I can pivot it up and then pivot the light down afterwards so it fits through the hole in the fuselage, because they're telling you here to glue everything in place, and then they come along a week later and you fit your nose section. You fit your outer nose section here, and if you've got that light in the wrong place, it's not going to go through. So I'd rather not glue it if I can help it. Again, all this interior will be painted green, but we talked about that earlier. So there we are. And then finally we've got part 14, and this is the main spar for the wings. So that there we're fitting, we've previously painted that darker green. And then we've got the spar, that's obviously going to get colour change. All this area back here is going to get colour change. So we're fitting this rear floor, we're fitting this bar, but all that's going to be painted. And there we go. And that, my friends, is that. So that's what we're going to be doing. So the best thing I can do is stop talking and get on with it. Okay, so part one. Here's all the parts for part one. And obviously the propeller's assembled. You get these 3 blocks here for aligning the propeller blades. Make sure you keep those because we're going to need those in future issues. We've got the internal framing here. We've got the nose here. There's the screwdriver they give you. I thoroughly recommend replacing it. I'm going to show you in one of the videos as soon as it comes. In part 15, I'll show you a set of screwdrivers I've just bought on Amazon and we'll see if they're any good. But they're magnetic and they've got all the correct sizes, so hopefully they'll be much better. So you can see here we've got parts for the propeller. It's all assembled and everything. The screws in there which we've used. So there we go. So that's that. Right, so the first things first, all of these parts in here, you can see the small detail parts here, they're all going to get glued into this framework. But first of all, we're going to paint that framework green. Now, obviously, we have to think forward. It's no good mixing up paint and painting that frame green, and then in the next part, mixing up paint and painting the other side green. So we want to sort of go through and get a few parts out and get them ready. So we have this internal frame here. So that's going to be painted green. We have the interior here. That's going to be painted green. Now we've got a window going in there, and we're going to do our trick with the black ink around the edge. I've already done one. So I may well use, is that this side? Yes. I may well use this one because this one is already done. So you can see we've got the black around the frame. So what I may well do is mask off that window and paint the inside of this one and not actually use that one. We shall see. So there we go. So what we have to do is make sure we're decided on what we're doing and not just sort of keep going back and mixing paint all the time. So there we go. So we've got step 1 done. So that's what we're going to do with this. We're going to paint that green and we're going to paint the inside of that green. But we're actually going to probably paint this one. So save me having to do another window, won't it? Okay, so we'll get some masking tape cut. We'll mask that off inside. And then because we've also got that window is massive. So we'll actually paint over that green. Otherwise we'll have that big shiny bit of plastic in there. And you can see then when the frame goes in, it's all going to look hunky-dory. It's all going to be nice and bright and not dark in there. So that's going to be part 1. Okay, so on to pack 2. And as you can see, pack 2 again has a lot in it. We've got all the parts for the nose turret. We've got these side panels here. Again, I've got one with the glazing already in, so I'm going to use that one. And we've got this part here with nothing glued on it. If you remember when I did these from the Hachette build, I used glue, so obviously now I'd have to mask them up and everything. But I still have all the parts. I still have the small parts here for the turret. So we've got everything we need. Now, when it comes to here, where is it they tell you to do it? Is it in this one or is it in the next part? It's obviously in part 3. They've got these antenna. There's a whip antenna included here, which you're going to use in the next part. And there's also an antenna included in part 1, which is your pitot tube. Now I've got these here separate in a bag. And what they're telling you to do, I've covered this before, they're telling you to glue them on. The VHF antenna goes there, and the whip antenna goes, the pitot tube goes there. Okay, well obviously they're going to be sticking out, you know, they're going to be sticking out like a cocktail stick, and they're just going to get snapped off. So really don't put them on until the model's on its stand and everything, and you're not going to be picking it up and handling it. Glue them on then, because you know how far we've got when we're up to sort of, you know, having all the Bombay and everything together, and we're starting to put big screws in to hold that. They're just going to get broken off. So don't glue them on now. That's daft. So I got the turret here. I built it up in my initial video, but I didn't glue anything. So as you can see, it's all flappy and all take apartable. So I've got all the parts here to make the gun turret again. So that's pretty cool. So that's what we're going to do. I'm thinking about changing the build sequence here slightly as well, because I found that with this all assembled, I found it very difficult to get this onto the nose when it comes to pack 12 or whatever, because this has actually got to go onto those pins. There's 2 pins, there's one there and there's one there. Okay, and this has got to go on them, and when all this is together in the front of the aircraft, it's very difficult to get them to go in. So what I'm going to do, I think, is leave this plate off at this stage, and what we'll do when it comes to fitting the nose turret, we can fit that in, fit that back plate on, and then plop the nose turret in. Then it's going to be a lot easier, because once the turret's in there on top of that plate, it makes it very, very difficult to push those pins into there. So that'll be another little change to the build sequence. Obviously, if you've been building along with me and you've got to this to stage 14 and you've already glued everything together, then this is going to be very difficult for you to go back and do. But I have said right from the beginning I would be doing this, so hopefully you haven't been gluing your model together. So as I say, with the turret, we're not changing anything. We're going to do some trimming and clean up and everything, because there's a lot of cleanup needed to get this together nicely. And what we'll do, we'll do that, and then we'll get it all painted. So all this base is going to be green, all this framework is going to be silver. You'll see it looks absolutely gorgeous when it's all done. So much better than just being black. So I'm going to put those. I've got a little takeaway curry sauce pot here, which is fantastic for these keeping little bits and pieces in. So all this will come apart, as you can see. We'll be able to take the guns out somehow. I'll get all this apart, and then I'll come back when we're ready to do some painting. I think what we'll do is we'll get all this painted first, and we'll call it a day from there. Right, see you in a second. Here we go. You can see all the parts are all taken apart, and it's matching now with the magazine. I've got little tiny parts here which are in that bag, so they're staying in the bag. And all little bits. There's this clear window here which is already in the side there, so I've got 2 lots of those, so that can go back in its box. Now there's a lot of stuff in here that we're not going to use yet, like this piece of radio gear here. We're not using that yet. I've got this bomb aimer's window. We're not using that until about 13, I think. So you need a box to keep all this stuff in. What I've got is a cardboard box, you can see, like this, and I've got everything in there. And now once I've done this, I'll know that I've got the proper one built, and then all the rest, like this one here, is going to be surplus to requirements, but I'll find a use for that, don't you worry. But this model is bloody lovely. It is absolutely stunning for a part work. It's I've been impressed from day one. I mean, yes, the riveting on these panels is a bit heavy and it should be raised, but I mean, it's the detail that's in it is just lovely. And for those that don't have the skills or the desire to build the sprue model, you know, either from Hong Kong model or from Bordeaux model, then this is your ideal result. If you want a big Lancaster on a stand to sit on the other side of the room and shoot his guns at you. So anyway, there we are. So painting. First thing I'm going to have to do is mask up these windows, and I'm also going to have to degrease. I don't know the conditions that these models are made in. You know, is it a dirty old factory or something, or is it all very, very clean? So I've got some isopropyl alcohol here, and all I'm going to do is with a cotton bud, I'm going to get the cotton bud nice and wet with isopropyl alcohol, and I should now be able to come along here and just wipe all this over, get every single surface, every single edge, get all of that cleaned. Okay, and then we know we've got it all degreased. You can see there is something on there. I mean, I've been handling it a lot. You know, when you're handling stuff and holding it firmly and putting screws in and everything, you will be squeezing greases out of your skin. So there we go. Right, and then we'll do the same on here. Okay, we'll make sure this is all degreased. We've got this nice black matte paint, which should take our Tamiya paint very nicely indeed. When it comes to the interior side pieces, they're moulded in this kind of green, almost vinyl feeling sort of material, so I don't know how we're going to get on painting that. As I say, I've done a little test, and the paint does kind of scratch off quite easily, so I might see if I can etch prime it or something, or find something that sticks to it better, but I'll let you know in the next part. Now this floor here, this is going to be painted green. Okay, and then this floor here sits inside of there. I'm going to leave this black. I think it should, for accuracy, I think this should be green, and this area in here I think should be green, but I'm going to leave it black because I'm not sure how much of it on this model is going to be exposed. I'm sure for accuracy it should be green. But this area in here, this one should certainly be green. Okay. And then all of this is going to be, these can be painted green or aluminium, whatever you want to do. Okay, we've got a mould seam around there which we'll remove as well. But basically I've got to go around and degrease all this. So this is going to be all silver. These are going to stay, I think they're black. And then this is going to stay, these are going to be silver. That's going to be silver. That's going to be, I think they're silver. That's green. So I'll have to get my references out. I can't remember now. But it's all green and silver, and then you'll have black panels and everything for the control panels. Those I'm not going to use. I don't want those. I'm going to put those over there in the box. They can go away. So there we are. So we're ready to start getting some green paint down. I'm just going to go and check my references and make sure that all of this is actually silver, because I can't remember if these are supposed to be silver or black. Okay, so for those of you that aren't sprue modelers, this is taking you into the world of sprue modelling now. So I'm going to use a sanding stick. This is actually an Infini 400 grit. You get these from Premium Hobbies in the UK. And what I'm doing is removing a mould seam. Because the part's made in a mould, it comes together in two halves, and there's a seam around the middle of the part. You can see here on these ammo boxes, you should be able to see that there's a seam. So what I'm doing is removing that, because it wasn't there on the real thing. So it looks far better without it. There we go. So there we are. It looks so much better without it there. And it's just a good practice to get into, removing seam lines, because they look horrible, especially if you're going to start doing your washing and weathering and stuff. The other thing is, on the back of here you can see we've got what's called an ejector pin mark, that circle on there. Okay, and sometimes they're raised and sometimes they're recessed. And this one is raised, so I can just scrape away at it, just to remove the majority, and then I can come in with my sanding stick and just sand away until it's gone. Now I'm going to have to get a new sanding stick. I'm going to use this little skinny sander here, because that sander is basically worn out, as is this one. So as we can see, Mr. Prepared. Okay, so you just sand that away until it's gone. And then we've got the job done. We've got rid of all those horrible seam lines. Now, the one thing I would suggest with this turret, before you start gluing anything, start dry fitting the parts in. Now, I know, for example, these pieces here, they go in, and they've got these two square tabs on here. You can see we've got ejector pin marks in here as well to remove. I'm not knocking Hachette at all. It's there on every plastic part has ejector pin marks pretty much, and they've got them in here in sensible places, so they can easily be sanded away. But you can see that's fitting in there nicely. We've got a nice flush fit with the top. We do have a little bit of a gap on the side there at the front. So what I'm going to do here is just take this out, and with that sanding stick that's fairly worn out, I'm just going to remove a little bit of the length of those legs, just to let it go in a bit deeper. We also have a mould seam on there, so I'm just going to sand that to make sure that's nice and flat. That will help it go in as well. And this is basically, guys, all about taking your Hachette Lancaster to the next level. It's clearly not something you have to do. It's not a requirement. It's just, just making it that little bit better. It's like people go buy a car and then they change the wheels, or they, add power to it, or change the exhaust or whatever. It's just personalising it, making it yours. And if you want to follow along with me, then all means do, and I'll be doing this all the way through the build. Okay, So you can see that fits in there now beautifully. And that's the thing with, this is what it's like with sprue modelling, is you know, you take your time, you fit stuff, you sand away seam lines, and you know, even with this, it will make your life a lot easier, especially with complex assemblies like this. I mean, this is very complex, and I think it scared a lot of people away, didn't it? I think that's what Scott was saying on Building with the Boys. His channel's great, go take a look. So I can see here we've got these ejector pin marks. Okay, and you can see there's one here in the middle which is raised, and that is actually stopping us getting this together. There's one there is raised as well, so get rid of that one as well. Okay, and then we can come in with our little sanding stick and just remove what's left behind. So I'm going to go on and do the same for the other one. And you'll find me doing that a lot in these videos, guys. I'll be saying I'll come back in a minute when I've done this, because you don't want to sit there and watch me sand and scrape every single part, do you? And that is going together a lot nicer now. We still need to remove some more material from these pegs. I'm going to take some from the bottom corner of them. Okay, just so I just want it to sit nice and tightly against those sides. There we go. You can see now that's sitting lovely. Alright, and I'll do the same on the other side, and then I'll be back. Okay, so a bit of cleanup done now. So what I've done on here, on the seat, there were ejector pin marks, so I've scraped and sanded those away. So we'll have to repaint that brown base. I've also gone round with my knife and just lightly scraped away the seam lines. Okay, and the seam lines here as well. Just get rid of those and it will look so much better for it. These little things here are made by Infini. You can get them again at Premium Hobbies in the UK. And these are called the PE sanders, and what you buy is these, and then you buy a pack of self-adhesive abrasive paper, and that gives you a really hard sander that doesn't flex or anything. So if you want to sand something like this and you want it to stay square, then you want a flat sander. If you use a sponge, it will put a radius on. So that's what I've used for that. So these are all cleaned up now and all ready to go. Now, I haven't done the mould seam on this one. I did the other one, didn't I? Okay, so the way it goes together in the instructions, this goes in here first. Now these holes are going to need opening up, or these pins need reducing to get it to fit together. And you want a bit of play. You don't want it to be really tight, because this is going to be, you need to get it in the right position towards the end of the build, towards the end of the build of the turret, not the build of the model. So, and also, as you can see, if you don't have them tight, you can do this so that you can actually orientate them correctly to go into the base. Okay, so that's going into there like that. And then this seat is again on these D-shaped pins, and I think from memory they needed cleaning out as well. I think all of this is a bit tight. It's because of the paint and everything. That's right, it's going to go in there like that, in those D-shaped holes. Come on, go in. Why is it playing up? I know why, because I've got this the wrong way round, idiot. They go with these little pins. I had those pins facing inwards, they should be facing outwards. So there we go, right. So now we're building it properly. And as I say, I'm not gluing that in because I want it to be able to move. It makes it a little bit more tricky to get together. And of course on camera it's going to always be a nightmare, because it's just the way the camera happens. So we've got that there like that, and then that is going to drop down into the base of the turret, just like so. And as you can see, it's sitting in there. We can push it down on this side, you can push it down on that side, but you can see we've got a great big gap on this side. So we're going to push that part out. Okay, and we're going to hold that one, I'm going to pull the other one in. So basically what we're doing is we're pushing the parts out. Now that seat isn't glued in there, it doesn't really need to be. This isn't glued in there so that it can rock, so we can position it carefully. And now what I want to do is dry fit these ammo boxes, because these could be a very tight fit. Now there's a seam line on the top and there's also a sprue nib, so sand that off. Okay, and you want this to push into the sides. It's going to go, you've got 2 pins on there and they're going to go into those 2 holes in the sides there. Now you want these to fit fairly easily. You don't want them to be, you don't want to have to be wrestling with them. And what you could do then is get your tweezers and just squeeze together like that. Now do the same on the other side. I've already sanded these. I get that dust off of there. Now most of these parts I believe are ABS plastic, guys, so your Tamiya extra thins and that won't work. You're better off using super glue, really, as they say in the manual. Okay, so there we go. Right, so that is all together. I just want to make sure that is together properly there. There we are. So I'm putting the tweezers inside to support and then pushing the ammo bin over. And there we go, and everything's nice and square now. You want to look at the front of these and you want these to be vertical. So I'm going to tip that over, hold that vertical and tip the ammo bin over. They should all be in line. Okay, so I can see what we're going to have to do here. As I say, this is quite an awkward assembly, but just work along with me and you'll get there. It's not impossible. If I can do it, you can do it. We both got hands and arms and everything, so we're all the same. Right, so there we go. So that can now be all glued together. Now I'm going to use this is my favourite glue. This is VMS Black Thin Flexi 5K CA. It's my favourite black CA glue because when it's black, it's very thin, it runs into all the joints. What we're going to do is just put that in there and let that wick down into that joint, just like so. Okay, and that will also help to fill any gaps. We can also then, once it's glued, we can give this back end a little shove, just like that, and make sure it's all gone together nicely. Here we are. Get the glue across there. Make sure we don't fill those holes up where we've got to put other parts in later. And there we go. If you're wondering why I'm gluing this, I like to glue things before I paint them as much as I can. I'd rather paint an assembly, and the reason I'm doing this now is because if I painted all this nice and green, you can imagine it wouldn't look very nice with all these big blodges of glue everywhere. So the way this should be, there should be a raised area around here. So it's going to have a 1-inch circle, which is silver, and the rest of the floor is green. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to paint the whole thing silver, and then I'm going to mask that off and paint it green, and the bits in here will brush paint and everything. So I think you'll enjoy it. And if you're following along, if you're going to do the same, let me know in the comments below. Be interested in how many of you could be bothered with all this accuracy stuff. I'm not going to glue those ammo bins. I'm going to let these side pieces set nice and straight, and then we can mess around with those ammo bins after when they're glued in solid. So there we are. So I am now going to leave that to dry. I think what I'll do is put a drop of glue there and a drop of glue there, just at those front edges. Okay. So I'm just going to leave that for 5 minutes, let it soak in, and then I'm going to grab a cotton bud and just wipe the excess glue off. and then we can come back to it later. But this is going to be all about patience, guys. With part works, you can generally just screw everything together and then, you know, job done. But with this, what you might want to call proper modelling, sprue modelling, you have to wait for glue to dry, you have to wait for paint to dry, and it's all about patience. But you try and ease the pain as much as you can by, you know, like I say, we'll do the green front and we'll do the green turret and all that at the same time, rather than keep having to mix paint up or mix the. I'm going to be spraying this through an airbrush, so you know, you only have to clean the airbrush once rather than 1, 2, 3 times sort of thing. So it's also wasteful with the paint as well to do that. So that's starting to go off, I can see already. So what I'm going to do is just come with the cotton bud and just twist the cotton bud over the top. Just remove any large amounts of excess that's on there. And reduce our sanding down, because once it starts to go off it won't appear to be in anymore. So what we can do now is, now that's started to go off, what we'll do is we'll put some more on top, which will fill these holes and act as a filler, so we don't have these big keyways everywhere and that. Okay, so I'll go on and do that, and then I'll see you back when it's dry. Okay, so what feels like many hours later, we finally got there and I've sanded it all out. You can see now we have a nice smooth joint, so there's no big steps or anything in there. So looking at the instructions, they're asking us now to fit these little levers and that, and this piece here, O2L, which I think is a lock stop, which locks the turret in position. I'm going to fit those levers. I don't know about the lock stop. And the reason I want to fit the levers is because there are holes here, those levers are going in, and they are actually formed by the two pieces coming together. So if we can actually get these levers in and at the same time have those holes filled, there's the little lock stop piece there, you know, back in its little bag. And then these are going to fit in those holes on the side. So I'm going to grab a bit more of my black super glue. I'm just going to put a drop on there, just like so, and then we need to make sure we get these the right way round. So they're going to be, they won't be like that, but they'll be like that. Yeah. Yeah, so that's the right hand one. So I'm just going to dip that in my glue and then just drop that into that hole. Okay. And then I'll do the same with the other one, wherever it went. There it is. I test fitted the other one previously. I haven't test fitted this one, so I'll just test fit it in there. Yes, it fits in the hole. Drop a glue on there, and then that can go in that hole. It's just flug out of the tweezers. There we go. So that's those in there now. Just going to bring that upright. As you can see, the fit is very loose indeed, which is why I wanted to do it now. So there we go. And what we can do is just take our little, where's our glue applicator gone? It's over here. We can take our glue applicator, remove the glue from the end, and then we can just put a spot, possibly on the inside, and that will just run round just like that, and that will help to fill any gaps that are there. Okay, so we'll let those dry. And as you can see, I'm putting together lots and lots, and then I'm going to do detail painting afterwards, because the trouble is with this, it's going to look a mess if we've got seams everywhere. So the object here, I think, is build as much as we can, get it painted silver, and then it will all be like this one silver unit sticking out from underneath that lovely turret dome. So they're talking about here doing this. I'm going to try and do this after. I'm going to try and fit these and then see if I can get the guns in. So the next bit after this is these chutes here. So we've got O2M left and right. So as we look at these, you can see here we've got a mould seam all the way around there, all the way around, and we've also got a step in the base, which is going to affect how it fits together. You can see that great big mould seam on there and a great big step and everything. So I'm going to come in with my knife and just scrape away, get rid of that mould seam. Just like so, same from there. There we go, that's that dealt with. And then just sand away until the part's nice and clean. And this is the beauty of painting everything easy, because it doesn't matter, you can get rid of all these mould seams. Now, if you're building this model out of the box, as it were, I keep saying out of the box means building it as it was intended, then you're going to have to put up with the mould seams, or do some painting, or put up with the grey plastic. So underneath here it looks like a sort of very dark grey plastic. I'm just going to get some more sanding done on them. What I've done, I've got these pieces here. I've done one half, so you don't have to watch me do it, and then I'll do those. So we've got those two there. These here, you can see I've done this one. There's a sprue nib on the front where it's been cut off a sprue, where it's moulded. We need to get rid of that, so I'm going to use my nice flat PE stick on there, so we can get rid of the mould seam and the sprue nib. And then on there, and then there's a seam across the top here. There's a seam down the back. There's a seam in the bottom, and there's a seam down there. So we can get rid of all of those easily. And then I don't think I did the bottom on the other one. No, I didn't. There's a little sprue nib on the bottom of there as well. So make sure that's gone, because that's going to affect the way it fits. So what I want to do here, I want to be able to fit these in. Okay, they're going to go like so. And then what I want to be able to do, those bits have got to come back there. What I want to be able to do is be able to get the guns in. So I should be able to, this is the right side here, the left side should I say, it's the right side as in not wrong. So it's the left side, so I should be able to put that up through there, put it back, and then put it through there. So yes, we can do it this way round, and then we can pinch the connectors together. Okay, so that will be possible. So what we do is get this gun out, he says. Easier said than done. Okay, so there we are. So we can, what we can do is fit these two bits here. So we've got O2, M, L and R. So we've got left and right. And we can see they go in together like that. And they've got D-shaped pins on. They go in with this. You see you've got one side is radius. See, this side has a radius here, and this side has an angle. So that angle is going to face backwards. So I haven't done the mould seams on the inside of this one, I'm sorry. Just scrape that with a knife. Scrape that side too. So this one is the right hand side. Grab that with the tweezers. It should fit nicely in those holes because I've already opened them up, I think, from memory. Yeah, nice, very tight fit in those holes. So I think what we need to do is take something off that pin length because it's sitting up too high. That's better. So that's gone in like that. Lovely, so that's going to go in properly. So we get some glue on there. And then we'll check the fit of this side. So notice I'm dry fitting everything. I'm checking everything before I glue it. It's best practice. That one fits in there beautiful. So, right, what we can do on here then, we'll fit this one first because it's the tight one. What I'll do in fact, to make it a little bit looser, just cut some plastic off the flat there of the D-shaped pin, and then I'm just going to dip that in some super glue, and then we could drop that one down in there. Just give it a little push, and we'll do the same with this one. Dip that in the super glue, and then we'll just push that one down in there, just like so. And they're going to come together like that. Get them level with each other. And then we can put a drop of the black in the middle. And bring them together. And the beauty of this stuff is it doesn't dry instantly. The downside of it doesn't dry instantly. So yeah, if you're using super glue for speed, this is not the one. Okay, so we'll leave that for a few minutes just to gel off. So that's our ammo chutes done. What there's the rounds come in from the side, and then the shells come out and come down out of these holes here. And I remember reading or being told or something, the bomb aimer, of course, the bomb aimer in a standard Lancaster, like non-dam busters, was also the front gunner. So when he was firing the guns, the shells would just come out and lay on the floor, just like they did in the back of a B.17 or a B.24. Now, on a dam busters raid, they had a front gunner and a bomb aimer. And I remember being told or reading or something, like I say, of the bomb aimer being showered in shell casings as he was aiming because the guns were firing. So that's why I don't think there was ever any bags there. And I've never seen images that show a bag hanging down, which would be very, very obvious through the nose blister. So, yes. So that's those in there. So now what it's telling us to do is glue all this in. I'm going to try and do this different. I'm going to try and cheat. So, this is the right hand side. So that's going to go into there. That's going to go into there like that, and it is a nice snug fit. And you've got that bar coming across is going to go into that hole in there, and we've got this side is going to go into here, and that one is also a nice snug fit. In fact, what I'm going to do is remove some of that pin. Just let it go in a bit further. It seems to be sitting up high. Yeah, it doesn't want to go in. So I think what we'll do is we will measure this pin. It's kind of square. It's 1.1 across the, yeah, it's kind of a square hole. So what I'm going to have to do, I can't drill it. What I'm going to have to do is reduce the size of the pin. So see if that helps. There we go. That's better. And that's how that's going to go. And then we're going to be able to thread the guns through. No problem. So there we are. Right. So we've got to get that glued in now. I'm not quite sure how to go about this. That top bar needs to sit in there. That bottom needs to be pushed across. So I'm going to get these glued in. I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so I thought I'd also go on and fit this this overhead loop that goes on, and that'll get it all nice and strong then. Because basically that's got to go into that hole there, and then that's going to glue to the backs here, and that rod there is keeping it away. So there we go. So that's going to be all nice and solid then. I just want to check that we physically can still slide those guns in. Probably better to go in from the back. Yes, it probably will be better to go in from the back. That's okay, we'll get them in somehow. I'll be sure of that, don't you worry. You're going to have to cut this open. I want to see if it can be done this way, and then you guys can do it this way if you want to. And if you don't want to, then you don't have to. But if you do want to, you know how it works. I know a lot of you were looking forward to seeing these videos. So what I'm going to do here is, with my super glue, I am going to, got a fresh drop here, I'm going to put some down the base here and let that capillary around. Just like so. And then I'll take my cotton bud and then here put some glue on the back of there, and I'm going to put some glue, come on out the way, going to put some on the back of there as well. And then we can push that together just like that. And this is the beauty of this glue. You can take a cotton bud like you've just seen me do and just mop it away. Mop away the excess. Do the same on this side. And there we are. Hold it together so it's kind of even. Like that. I'm just going to hold that together and let it dry. Now if you notice, I haven't fitted any of these bits because they're going to be easy to paint them separately. These bits here I'm leaving off until I've got the guns in, because they get in the way of putting those pins in which the guns pivot on. But there you go. You can see here we have the main frame of the turret built up. So we have the gun sight in the middle there. All of this will be painted silver. What I'll probably do first is paint this green and then mask around the outside and then paint everything silver. And we'll brush paint some green details on the seat. We'll brush paint the leather swab, and then we'll do the control panel and everything. We'll dry brush it, do some buttons, and have it all looking great. So So there we are. I hope you've enjoyed that. It's been a long one. All of these videos will probably be around the hour, which is long for a Partworks, but this is hardly just a Partworks, is it? We're going to town here. So there we are. And for those of you that enjoy this sort of stuff, some of you may be pleased to know I have a Poker car coming on the way. Some people call them Porsche. I have a Lamborghini on the way. They've been in touch, they want to work with me, and they've got some exciting new stuff coming apparently. So hopefully later in the year we'll have some exclusives for you as well. But there we go. So there we are. I'm also going to make a promise that this week, being I believe it's like the last week of April, what is it today? It's the 18th today when I'm making this. It'll probably go out on the 19th or the 20th. But this last 10 days of April, sometime in there, we will have another border model Lancaster video, I guarantee you. And there's a great new product which I've been working on with another guy for your border model Lancaster, and you will love it, I think. I need to get another cotton bud. Once you've used these a couple of times for the super glue, obviously the super glue dries out and then they become ineffective at mopping up super glue. They just become a hard stick. So just putting some glue on the base of that rod just to get it to go down, and then we can mop up the residue. I mean, it shrinks back when it dries anyway, so you hardly see any of it there. But there we are. That's our gun frame done. If you want to add detail, there should be some replacement gun sight bulbs down here. 3 of them on there, so you could add them with little balls if you want to, if you've got any little balls. And then there's supposed to be tubes coming over the top. I can show you a photograph actually of an early nose turret. This book here is fantastic. This is the Avro Lancaster Mark 1.3, 41 to 43. But there is a beautiful colour wartime photo here of where is it? There it is. You can see there with all the lovely detail, the silver in there and everything. Okay, you can see here as well. You've got the silver. Also, if you look a bit further back, there's a picture of a top turret, mid-upper turret here you see, which was basically the same thing. It was an FN5. You can see these hoses going over the top. You could add those should you want to. But again, over here you can see all this is aluminium on an early Lanc. So, the upper turret I think was the first to go black on the inside. The black, I think maybe in the same time as the rear turret actually. But there we go. So that's all glued together. I'm going to leave that to dry, and then we'll get some primer on there and get it painted. Now my intention is to not do any painting on camera because it's a pain. But if you want to see some, shout. I'll see if I can work something out for you. But it is difficult, especially with larger areas, because you want to be in the booth really. I don't like spraying paint not in the booth. I've left that bit off there for fear of it getting knocked off, and also it would be easier if I need to mask having it not there. But then saying that, I'll have a blob of glue there, so we'll just use a bit of clear and just drop it in there. So there we go, that's our frame, and then when that back goes on, that's all going to be painted green inside as well. So we'll have our silver there, green on the bottom, and when you put it all in there, it's going to really stand out against this black framing. It's going to look bloody lovely. And the top's got to be painted brown as well, remember, so we'll also be doing that. Oh, also there were some ejector pin marks in this. This is the panel that goes in the front of the fuselage. There were ejector pin marks in there, so that's not dry enough yet. But basically use that black super glue in there to fill them, and then we can sand it. So I'll see you all soon for part 2. And as I say, in the meantime, I'll get this green painting done and then we'll start doing some detail work. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.